Yeah. Morning, this is Rich Armstrong coming to you from Chuckwalla Road in Cottonwood, Arizona. Not very far from Dead Horse State Park, right up against the Mingus Mountains, which are on your right. You are looking at a Cactus Wren who is calling like crazy, has been sitting there for quite a while. Cactus Wren is the state bird of Arizona. Cactus Wren is the largest wren in the United States. Wrens are just delightful birds. He sings all the time, and we had a Curve-billed Thrasher sitting over here, but he has moved. We were looking at, it's hard to know what to start with here. We had an Anna's hummingbird perched up. As I said the last time, Anna's hummingbirds are here year-round, so people actually put out hummingbird feeders all winter and get the Anna's hummingbirds. We haven't had a black-chinned hummingbird yet today, but as long as I'm talking about hummingbirds, they come in March and leave in about August, September. I guess I'll get in front of the camera here for the moment. As I said, I'm Rich Armstrong. I am the field trip leader for Northern Arizona Audubon Society. I wear this shirt, which tells you everything you need to know about me. I might talk birds at any given moment, usually at every given moment. I have been leading field trips for the Verde Valley Birding and Nature Festival for about 8 years now. I think I've been doing Chuckwalla Road for about last 5. I discovered Chuckwalla Road a number of years ago, I think on a Christmas count. And it is the best road in it's the best place in all of the Verde Valley for Cactus Wren, for Curve-billed Thrasher, for Canyon Towhee, probably for white-winged dove, northern cardinal, and some other birds. Typically, in an hour, there goes a Cactus Wren right behind me. His nest is right here in these choyas. I have no idea how they walk and land on a choya. If I brush against one, I pay the price. They don't. Over here, he's now 6 feet from me. His nest is right here in this choya behind me. Just a delightful bird. And he's going to sing anyway, even though he doesn't care that we're here. Northern Arizona Audubon is a proud sponsor of the Verde Valley Birding Festival. We have a wonderful website, northernarizonaAudubon.org. I encourage you to all go to that and find out what's going on here in the Verde Valley, which is unfortunately not much right at the moment. I lead field trips mostly to the Sedona wetlands, where we were going to be today, except there is no internet service at the Sedona wetlands, so we are here on Chuckwalla Road, which is totally different. Instead of ducks and shorebirds, we get Cactus Wrens and Curve-billed Thrashers and a lot of other birds. We have had western kingbirds sitting up on the wires here, which I don't see right at the moment. We have had Bullock's Orioles fly by. Isaac had them in the camera a couple of times, but they did not cooperate at all. And sorry if I am always looking. There's a hummingbird at the top of that little bush, and in that bush is an interesting sparrow. It looks like a Lincoln sparrow at this distance, or a Savannah sparrow, I'm not sure. A little too far away to tell. You have to look at a lot of white-crowned sparrows, but this is not a white-crowned sparrow at least. And there are a lot of house finches here that you have to look at as well. So the habitat here is all grassland, scrubbies, and cactus, we don't know if the Cactus Wren and Curve-billed Thrasher expanded their range here or if they've always been here because no one birded here 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. In the background, you have the Mingus Mountains. Now, we are at an elevation here, I would guess, of right around 3,800 to 4,000 feet. I should look that up sometime. And the Mingus Mountains in the back go up all the way to 7,800 feet. Most of the birding habitat we bird up there is at 7,500 feet. And all of the birds up there are totally different than all of the birds down here. And yes, we do lead a field trip up to the Mingus Mountains, but it can't be everywhere on the virtual festival. And we just had a Curve-billed Thrasher fly over here. Let's see if he is sitting up. Somewhere. And he is he is not sitting up. Curve-billed Thrashers spend a lot of time on the ground, and we're nice early in the morning here, which means that they do sit up on trees and sing sometimes. Now, this is the fourth day of the birding festival, the last day. I am in charge of keeping a list of all of the birds being seen. Now, instead of having literally 50 field trips going out to 50 different places with everybody compiling a list, and we normally get probably pretty close. We aim for 200 birds. We don't always make it to 200, but if we have a good shorebird year, we can get to 200. Normally we're like 190. Well, this year so far, I've only had about 10 people out birding, but we're already just over 150 birds. There's been some rarities. At the Sedona Wetlands has had phalaropes, Wilson's phalaropes, a willet, some American avocets. A surprising number of ducks have not left for the winter yet. We had a good number of ducks there yesterday, and people have gone to Prescott, where we normally have a field trip in Prescott. I haven't even got any reports from Flagstaff yet. We normally have a guy that leads a trip to the Flagstaff Lakes, which is an excellent trip on the festival. I'm going to do this trip next year. I used to do it as Chuckwalla Road plus Ogden Ranch Road, and I decided that by the time, see, the trouble is, first thing in the morning, you get great birds, and then when it gets warm at 10 o'clock in the morning, the bird activity slows down, and so Ogden Ranch didn't turn out to be as well as I thought it would. So we're going to do this trip on Sundays only, and just go from like 7 to 9:30, 7 to 10 in the morning. And so those people that want to do a field trip on Sunday and leave the festival early, this is the trip for you. And let's see, here is a Oriole flying over my head, and there's two cowbirds sitting on the way up on a telephone pole. Brown-headed cowbirds are a nasty bird in that they lay their eggs in other birds' nests. They almost wiped out the Kirtland's warbler in Michigan. They do a lot of damage to a lot of other birds, but they are still around, and unfortunately we get brown-headed cowbirds here. What I also look for here is a bronzed cowbird, which I think I've had the last 2 years here on the festival, which is really a rare southern cowbird that does make it barely into the Verde Valley, and has a bright red eye, and everybody enjoyed seeing that. Typically on this trip, I get about 35 to 40 species in an hour and 20 minutes or so. That works out very well. I'm sorry if I keep looking. There goes a Bullock's Oriole flying, and will he land in a good spot? No, he will not. That's the story of birding life here. What I do on the birding trip, the birding festival, is that's a thrasher in the tree there. I don't know if you can see him in the top of that bush. Maybe move to your right a little bit. There's a mourning dove. Oh no, that's two thrashers. The mourning dove's behind them. So two thrashers are in that dead looking piece of bush there. And actually now there are three thrashers there. So I don't know if they're arguing with each other. You cannot tell male from female thrashers. Some birds, like the Bullock's Oriole I just mentioned, the male and the female look totally different. And some birds, like Curve-billed Thrasher, the male and the female look exactly the same. So I keep glancing around to see what I'm seeing. There's three Bullock's Orioles out there. Four. They're quite a ways out, unfortunately. You might be able to see some bright orange color in the distance, and they're just flying everywhere, both males and females. We also get hooded Orioles here. There's a guy down the street that has an Oriole Feeder, which is simply a little bowl of jelly, usually grape jelly or any jelly you put out in a bowl, and you put the bowl in a little box or a little like a house feeder, and the birds will land on that feeder and eat the jelly. And I have 4 Bullock's Orioles in my sight right now, but unfortunately none of them are close enough to see. Oh, now, there is There's a white-winged dove flying, going down. Oh, he's going the wrong way, of course. That is one of the target birds we have here. This is kind of like a Verde Valley edge of southern Arizona. We get the Cactus Wren, the Curve-billed Thrasher, the white-winged dove that are much more common in Phoenix area. We are, of course, about 2 hours north of Phoenix. They're much more common down there, but this street has them and has them nicely. That's a female Bullock's Oriole sitting up. There's a male over there. I don't know if you can get orange in your camera, Isaac, but there's the sun is behind us. We have beautiful sunlight here this morning. Nice temperature of about probably 60 degrees on its way to 85, 88. It's going to be a hot day today, so it's nice doing this early. Can you see orange, Isaac? You can't see orange. He's just too far out there. Oh, we have another one in this tree here. This is a female Bullock's Oriole that just landed in the top of the tree. Now, let's walk this way a hair. Maybe he'll sit there. There's a male going over there. And we have Orioles coming at us here at the moment. They're all in that tree in the guy's yard. Okay, here they come. They're behind us. Birds always know how to land on the back side of a tree. They never land on the front side of a tree that you're looking at least it seems that way. So we're chasing Bullock's Orioles. Isaac's holding the camera way up in the air to see if he can see anything, and I have no idea. The Cactus Wren you're hearing, of course. Yeah, let's. That was a mockingbird that just sang off in the distance. If you can hear this one note, high-pitched note, that's a Gambel's quail. I'll stop talking for a second, maybe you can hear it. There, he just did 3 or 4, a little bit of the Chicago song. On the wire, Isaac could probably aim at the wire, is a western kingbird. They've been up on the wire most of the morning. We have 2 kingbirds here in the Verde Valley, western kingbird and Cassin's kingbird. They have slightly different habitats. I've seen them both on this road, but mostly we get western kingbirds who just sang for you.
I have a question, Rich.
Okay.
Are you hearing an emphid flycatcher?
I don't think so. I'm not hearing any empids at all. The only Empidonax flycatcher that would really be here that might sing would be a gray flycatcher, and I have not heard that or seen that at all this morning. We do have ash-throated flycatcher here, which I heard earlier, just not right now. And we have birds on the ground over here. Curve-billed Thrashers in the tree again, one of those bushes there, a little bit too far, and they're not sitting up. We had canyon towhee earlier. This is where I take people to see canyon towhee. I'm a birding pal, and so people call me up and say, I'm going to be in the Verde Valley. What can I do? And then I have them send me a list of birds that they want to see. And canyon towhee, if that's on their list, I bring them here. Obviously, I bring most people here for the Cactus Wren, the Curve-billed Thrasher, and the white-winged dove. The hummingbird just zipped over our heads. There's the Curve-billed Thrasher out in that bush again. That is, oh, he's sitting up fairly nicely for a second or two, and now he goes over to the right side. There's another one on the ground. Maybe you can get this guy on the ground. No, he went behind the grass there. Wrong side. We can't actually get out into this habitat, but it doesn't matter. We really just walked the entire road looking out at this, and some of the yards actually have cactuses and local vegetation in them. So we'll get a northern cardinal or a woodhouse scrub jay, or almost said western scrub jay, but western scrub jay has been split into woodhouse scrub jay and California scrub jay. So what we get here now is the woodhouse scrub jay. Or I might also mention, thinking of splits, that the curve-billed thrasher is a different subspecies of thrasher than the curve-billed thrasher of Texas. So if you've seen a curve-billed thrasher in Texas and you come here, you'll see a different subspecies that theoretically could be split into a separate species. They're studying them now. Who knows what they will determine. When you can do mitochondrial DNA studies of birds, you can determine how far back the subspecies split, and then you can know whether they've been separate species for a long time or a short time. And you've probably just gone above my pay grade in how they do that. Now I leave that to the ornithologists, of which I am not. Oh, we have an oriole sitting up here. See if we can get he's close enough. See if we can get this Bullock's oriole. Oh, down he goes.
Oh, goodness.
Ah. And of course we have a Anna's hummingbird sitting right here on the top of a bush. Now, of course, if he turns his head the right way, you would see that bright red color of the gorget and the top of the head. And if he's sitting that way, you see just a dark looking hummingbird.
There's a question, do birds respond to fishing?
Some birds respond to fishing and some birds don't. For instance, here, I'll fish to try and get up sparrows. We have a lot of white-crowned sparrows. Sometimes there's chipping sparrows in amongst them, and that works fairly well. At the Sedona wetlands, I fish for song sparrows. They come up very nicely to fishing. But a lot of the birds, especially birds that are just migrating, don't respond as much. With Cactus Wrens and Curve-billed Thrashers, they don't need it because they just seem to sing all day long anyway. Trying to think of what this, there goes an oriole over our head. There's a female oriole there. There's another oriole going over us. All bullocks this morning. I saw one hooded oriole earlier, but we've not seen more. Now, one of the surprises here is I'm not seeing any phainopeplas. Phainopepla is the only member of the silky flycatcher family here that we have in North America, and they have arrived usually by now. Some of them overwinter here. We get them on a Christmas count, but they usually arrive by now, and they're usually fairly common. And like most flycatchers, they will sit up on top of a bush, and it's a gorgeous blackish bird, almost iridescent, with a nice crest, 2 white wing bars, and a beautiful red eye. And normally they are here, and they're not. Let's see if we can get, let's see if we can get these orioles. 3 orioles in a tree that are fairly close right now. Unfortunately, we are looking with Isaac's camera and not with a telescope, and the orioles dropped, leaving only a house finch there. So that we failed on that one. Western kingbird is flying around, catching insects, I assume. He's up there fairly high. Maybe the insects are fairly high today. And no ash-throated flycatcher at the moment. In fact, there are no birds sitting out here at the moment. So I'll talk a little bit about the Verde Festival. We've been going on, I think it's now 19 years, something like that. Obviously, we're not going on this year, which is very unfortunate. And you're getting a little bit of a taste of it. But the Verde Valley has a wonderful variety of habitats. We have the Mingus Mountains up there, pine forest at 75 to 7,800 feet. We have grasslands with scrubbies. We have pure desert areas with cactus. We have canyons where you can get things like canyon wrens and rock wrens. We have the ponds, which we don't have much in the way of ponds, but the Sedona Wetlands and Dead Horse State Park are nice ponds. And of course we have the Verde River and Oak Creek, which are our 2 primary habitats for everything. A high percentage of the birds are on them. The thrasher's sitting right up here on top of the cactus.
Oh yeah.
Might be able to get him. This is the curve-billed thrasher. He has a nice yellow eye that if you would see very well in the telescope, probably not so well in the camera. And he's been pretty silent this morning for the most part. I have a house finch calling next to me here. There goes mourning doves. Mourning doves are the common doves here. Typically in a morning you might see 40 or 50 mourning doves, and you probably see 3 or 4 Eurasian collared doves. An Oriole just went right over our heads. He's going to go too far. And the white-winged dove that we had one of is the rarest dove here that you try and find as a target bird. And I'm looking at, oh, there's a Eurasian collared dove flying over there and going behind the tree, of course. Right on the fence post, just this side of the mailbox, is a curve-billed thrasher. Isaac's putting him in in the camera right now, and he fly to the mailbox and to the other side. They must have a nest right here somewhere as well.
In the cactus right before the mailbox.
Yeah, could be. And that's still a kingbird on the wire. And we're hearing house finches calling. And I think I said before, if you don't have house finches, you're not birding at all. Oh, I see house sparrows as well. House sparrows are an introduced bird from Europe, unfortunately, that has spread all across North America, and we have them here as well. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mourning doves just zipping around all over this area. This is their primary habitat. And you're hearing mourning dove behind you. Now there goes a cowbird. Let's see if I can tell. And that is just a brown-headed cowbird. The normal North American cowbird who nests probably here in cardinal nests. They lay their eggs in a cardinal nest and then kick the cardinals out, and the cardinals will raise cowbirds.
We have a question, Rich.
Okay.
Is that a canyon towhee that does the one upswing note followed by a trill?
No, canyon towhees kind of go in a rhythmic chip, 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 like that. We do have canyon towhees on this road. We saw one down the other way a little bit. And it does sound a little bit like a trill, but I wouldn't call it an up note. I'm not the best at bird songs. Oh, hummingbird just zipped by me. I've not heard a canyon towhee down here at all on this end of the road this morning. So maybe since we're not seeing anything here right now, maybe we will walk up the hill a little bit. And there goes 2 more Orioles. Bullock's Orioles are just everywhere. There's a female sitting out there, but nothing is really close. And behind, to try and look behind you, you end up looking into the sun. So yeah, the festival, you're just going to get a little taste of the festival this year. I'm trying to walk and talk and find birds at the same time. I'm not sure I can do that effectively. So we'll just walk a little bit here. Another Oriole going, oh, that's a house that's going over our head. On the wire is just a mourning dove. Yeah, the field trips that I lead, you have the telescope that's in my hand, and what typically happens on a field trip is a bird will land on top of a bush, on top of one of these scrubby things out here, and then I will put the bird in the scope. People here call me the fastest scope in the West. I get the scope on a bird very fast, and then everybody takes turns looking through it. And the method you use for a scope is you take like a 2-second look and move, and the next guy takes a 2-second look, and then after everyone is done, if the bird is still there, which lots of times it is, then people will take a longer look. And the Cactus Wren is right back up here singing again. They just sing all day long. I can bring a group here in the middle of the hottest part of the day at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I will still be able to find a Cactus Wren singing. They are delightful birds. And still seeing nothing. We'll go back up to the top of the hill where we'll get a little better look at things. So the festival is always the last weekend in April, which is pretty much prime migration time here. Most all of the breeding birds that are down here in the valley are back by the middle of April, or by the end of April. The ones up on the Mingus Mountains, you really hope to get some of the early arrivals there, because the higher the elevation where it's normally a little bit colder, they don't get back until early May. So that can be a problem. And sometimes you get what I call wonderful, terrible weather. If you get a day, which we had earlier in April this year, and which we had during the festival like 5 years ago, where you get a north wind, nastiness, a little snow, a little nasty stuff, that drops the birds down, and you get a lot more of the migrants dropping down to rest because they don't want to fly into a north wind. And then you get to see some pretty crazy birds here, especially at places like the Sedona wetlands. And we still have nothing sitting up right at the moment. And the only thing you're hearing right now is the Cactus Wren. There goes a Mourning Dove. And you're hearing Mourning Dove behind you as well. Although Cactus Wrens can dominate the sounds. Other birds we get here, we've had 2 tanagers. Haven't seen either of them today, but summer tanagers nest here in the Verde Valley. I see them on this road from time to time. And western tanagers migrate through in big numbers, and usually when the festival is a little bit later than this year it's the 23rd to the 26th, sometimes the last weekend will be like the 27th to the 30th, and then you'll get more western tanagers coming through. And days like that, you might see 10 or 20 western tanagers here. Oh, we're going to hit a car. That's not so good. And the habitat, you have the cholla cactus, and you have 100 different bushes out here, none of which I know. I don't do vegetation at all, and we still seeing nothing. And we have a Cactus Wren behind us, and we have a Cactus Wren coming up in front of us. They are simply all over this area. And here it is only 7:30 in the morning. Now, Arizona does not do daylight savings time, which means the sun actually comes up here at about essentially 5 o'clock. And by here we are at 7:30, the activity is already slowed down a little bit. That's why we start the field trips very early on the festival and before it gets warm. And this happens to be an extra hot little spell we have here in the Verde Valley right now. House finch, kingbird, mourning dove. Trying to think of some of the other birds that we've seen on this road. Oh, there's an ash-throated flycatcher sitting up on a bush out there. He's unfortunately probably too many bushes away to see.
We had a suggestion to try see if we could see him through the scope on the camera.
All right, we'll give this a try here. Oh, he just flycatched. All right. He's in the scope. Oh, and he flew.
Oh,
darn.
Well, we'll give that a shot when we can.
Yeah, I think those are too far away. we'll find something real close. Now, flycatchers, of course, are nice because they sit up, usually on top of things looking for insects. So hopefully this guy will sit up a little bit. We'll walk a little further here. We just went to the left. Oh, there he is. All right, let's try this. Oh, no, he just flew again. Now there's two mourning doves there. The flycatcher flew. He's actively fly catching right now. So the only thing that's going to be in the scope is two mourning doves that will probably sit there. I was really hoping for the flycatcher. And he went somewhere. I do not see him. And we had quail sitting up earlier, and they're not sitting up anymore. There's a mockingbird. Let's see if we can get a mockingbird. Oh, did he fly? No, he didn't. Oh, this is not going to work well. You can try that. This is a mockingbird in the scope. Northern mockingbirds. Now, northern mockingbird is not supposed to be a migratory bird. And something just chased him, so he's gone. Oh, it's two mockingbirds chasing each other. So they're not there, Isaac.
Okay. I don't think it's going to work today, Rich.
Well,
good suggestion, everybody, though.
Is that something bird-like, though?
We'll get something closer, hopefully, and then maybe we'll do better at it. Mockingbirds are not supposed to be migratory birds. But on the Christmas count here, we get virtually 0 mockingbirds. But now, if you went out and do in May, they have something called the Northern America Migratory Bird Day, or something like that. And if you go out and count birds on that day, I can find 10 or 20 mockingbirds out in the desert area with no problem at all. So we figure they must migrate from here down to Scottsdale neighborhoods. That's just an odd thing, because they're not here in the winter at all. Cactus Wren singing. Oh, what's that? That might be a Scots Oriole. Cactus Wren just scared it. It is. We have a Scots Oriole who just dropped down. Now, Scots Orioles are more of a desert Oriole, and I rarely ever see them on this road. And so that's an unusual sighting. He landed in the tree above the cars, but of course he did not cooperate. That's the way it always seems to go. Even if I had been with my group, I got him in the scope for 1 second, and then he flies, and then I'm the only person that sees it, and that really sucks when that happens on a field trip. You hate to be a leader and be the only person that sees a bird. And here, the Cactus Wren is at the top of that tree. Why don't you try to see if you can put him in through the scope?
All right, everybody, we're going to give this another shot here.
Because he's going to sit there and sing like they all do. Oh, wait. Here's an Oriole.
We've got him here, Rich.
Okay, let's try this Oriole who's only 3 bushes back here. He's coming up. This is a beautiful male Bullock's Oriole. That is, of course, redundant, because they're always beautiful. How you doing, Isaac?
Just getting it. Go ahead and comment if you can see that, everybody.
Yeah, that's a male Bullock's Oriole. They're a very common migrant here in the Verde Valley. Oh, and there's the ash-throated flycatcher. He's coming right closer. Oh, he went over, he flew over us. He's now in that, here he goes. See where he goes? Oh, he's low. He's at the bottom of a bush. Isaac's going to try and get the ash-throated flycatcher in the scope. Bullock's Oriole used to be the same as just called Northern Oriole. There's an eastern bird that's the Baltimore Oriole, and the western bird is the Bullock's Oriole, and they are quite different. And how they ever got lumped together, I have no earthly idea. But like I say, I'm not an ornithologist. And thankfully now they are split into the two species. And we have ash-throated flycatcher that Isaac's trying to see.
I think we can see him.
Unfortunately, he's low and behind a bunch of branches. He's very similar to it's called Myarchus flycatcher, very similar to the brown-crested flycatcher, which we also get here, the dusky cap flycatcher, which is only up, we went to a bush, maybe to go left here. Right here. He's in the open from right here. This would be a really good view of an ash-throated flycatcher.
Oh.
If he sits there for the moment. And as I was saying, we have dusky cap flycatcher that are only up in the mountains of southeast Arizona. And then the eastern version of this is called great crested flycatcher. These are all the Myarchus flycatchers family. And the way you tell an ash-throated from a brown crested, the brown crested is a little larger, has a little less, has more of a crest, and has a larger bill. And the brown crested's habitat is more along Oak Creek, where the ash-throated is more in the grasslands. So hopefully you got to see an ash-throated flycatcher a little better than you might have expected. Hopefully you got a little bit of the Oriole. Well, those are just house finches. Like I say, you have to look at a lot of house finches to see things. And there goes something that flew down. People are always asking me, what was that bird? I'm the leader of the field trip. I am supposed to know everything. And then some bird like that will just dart, and somebody will say, what was that bird? And I'll say, that was the north end of a southbound bird, and what that means is I have no idea what that bird was. And you're still hearing Cactus Wren. They just don't shut up. I don't know when they eat, because they just seem to sing all of the time. So yeah, the habitats in the Verde Valley are tremendously varied. Elevation goes from about 3,200 feet in Camp Verde up to all the way up to the 7,800 feet of the Mingus Mountains. We have Oak Creek Canyon that goes up to Flagstaff, which is more of a Mingus Mountain type of habitat when you get into the pine trees. And this is we have deciduous trees behind us and cactus and scrubbies in front of us. So this is really an excellent road for a variety of habitat. All right, I'm trying to think of some of the other birds we see here. We get little birds here. Verdant are fairly common. We have seen bush tits nest on this road. Very little birds. Warblers that are here would be the yellow warbler, which is common all over the Verde Valley, and the Lucy's warbler, which is a very early nester. Here comes some. Okay, Eurasian collared dove just landed on the wire. You can probably see some of that. Hi, we've got some people walking by with a little baby. Hi. People do live on this road, I obviously should say that. And I've met some of the people here because I've been birding here so many times. Eurasian collared dove is a very interesting story. When we started birding, I've been birding for 30 years. When we started birding around the late 80s, 1990, you had to go to southern Florida, and I'm talking about Miami and south, to see a Eurasian collared dove. They had come from Africa, I guess, flown over and established a population, and they had been there for years and years and years. And then all of a sudden, around the year 2000, they started to be seen in northern Florida, in Georgia, even across in Texas, and by now, they have expanded the entire country. I remember looking for them in Oregon. Now they're common there. Washington. I think they've actually even made it to Alaska. I don't think Hawaii yet, but I think they've made it to all 49 states and a good part of Canada. They just exploded across the country literally in 20 years' time. That's pretty interesting. Cactus Wren, Cactus Wren. What's sitting up there? hummingbirds and house finches. So, okay, let's, we do get raptors here a little bit. Normally on the field trip, I will have a red-tailed hawk sitting up on a pole somewhere, but not today. And Cooper's hawks and sharp-shinned hawks are the accipiters that actually eat birds, and they are, especially the Cooper's hawk, is very common in the Verde Valley. I don't see them on this road very often, but once in a while. American kestrel is our smallest falcon. It nests at Dead Horse State Park, as well as other places in the valley. People are putting up kestrel boxes. Northern Arizona Audubon Society actually has a program for people to put up American kestrel boxes. We have one in our yard that has been there for 2 years and hasn't had anything come to it. That's the way life goes sometimes. But once in a while you see a kestrel here. I'm sorry, I'm just glancing at birds. And they are house finches and mourning doves and another oriole flying by. Bullock's orioles seem to be everywhere this morning. What other categories of birds? Great horned owls, I'm sure, are out here sometime, but I've never come here at night, so I really don't know what that might be. Oh, I thought Laura was looking at a bird over there. She's just leaning, looking, trying to find a bird, which is obviously makes it hard when you don't have a bird to look at, and then you just have to listen to me talk. Cactus Wren is just calling everywhere. And there's that ash-throated flycatcher sitting again, although he's a little further out right now. Let's see, I mentioned Lucy's warblers. They're the first warbler to return to the Verde Valley. Migration really takes from about the 1st of February here all the way to June. The first bird that really comes back to the Verde Valley is cinnamon teal, which arrive at the Sedona wetlands in early January. That's followed usually by the turkey vulture. Everybody considers that guy kind of the sign of spring when the turkey vulture comes back. Well, that's that whit-whit call of a curve-billed thrasher. I'll let you listen. And as soon as I say that, it doesn't call. But it did. And then the common blackhawk, which is our signature bird. They do a hawk watch in southern Arizona, and they estimate that about 260 blackhawks fly by every year on their migration north from Mexico and point south, and all 260 of those nest in the Verde Valley. This is the northern range of a lot of birds. Flagstaff is just 35 miles up the canyon from us, and yet the number of birds that are here in the valley that don't make it to Flagstaff, cardinals, Gila woodpeckers, the Cactus Wrens, the Curve-billed Thrashers, the Abert's towhee, the canyon towhee, on and on. There's a number of birds that just, this is the northernmost range that they get to is the Verde Valley. And that's pretty exciting. That snag all the way out there is a mourning dove. 2 mourning doves. Yes. During the field trip I lead here, people are always saying, what's that bird, what's that bird? And it seems like 90% of the time, it's a mourning dove that's perched out there. The collared doves don't seem to go out there. He's over there flying by the wire. They're more of the mourning dove's more of the deserty bird, and the collared doves are more of the stay next to the houses bird. That's another collared dove up there on the wire.
We have Jenny from Camp Verde says she has a pair of common blackhawks on her property.
Yep, we actually have a blackhawk nest on our property. It's very exciting this year because what I would call an immature blackhawk just returned to our house. Now, obviously, no blackhawks have been born yet this year, so this has to be a bird that was born last May, is still in its immature plumage, and came back, and my wife is assuming that it's the same bird that was hatched in our blackhawk nest last year. Sam Huff, who's the #1 lister of birds in the Verde Valley, who birds more than anyone, monitors a blackhawk nest at Page Springs because it is the first blackhawk reported in the United States every single year. It arrives literally a couple of weeks before even any other Blackhawks, and even a week before the Hawk Watch in southern Arizona seems to find them. And they have raised babies successfully all of the years that I have been here, and it's the nest where most all birders go to see common blackhawk. A nice, easily accessible nest at Page Springs. The fish hatchery is a place where the field trips go every day of the festival to see blackhawks and other birds. And Bell's Vireo's nest there. That's another bird that we have a subspecies of Bell's Vireo that is a little different than other species of Bell's Vireo. Not a very exciting bird to look at, but it has a very neat call that's very easy to tell. Everybody loves to hear Bell's Vireo. The other vireos that we get here, Plumbeus vireo nest up on the Mingus Mountain, and warbling vireos are a late migrant. Sometimes I've seen a warbling vireo here, but it's usually when the field trip is closer to the 30th of April, as those are more of a May migrant. I should talk about the Mingus Mountain a little bit. It is a wonderful place up there. When it's 85 degrees here, it can be 60 degrees up there, which is really neat. There are 6 species of warblers up there that you rarely get down here in the valley. Olive warbler, Grace's warbler, black-throated gray warbler, Virginia's warbler, painted redstart, and red-faced warblers can all be seen on a single field trip up there. You get Steller's jays up there versus the Woodhouse scrub jay down here. You get wood peewees up there at Cordilleran flycatchers versus the gray flycatcher down here. House wrens are everywhere up there. Bandtail pigeons nest there. Zone-tail hawks are easier to see up there. So if you get a chance to go on the Mingus Mountain field trip, although I typically lead a field trip up there around the 10th of May, you still get a lot of these birds here during the Verde Valley Birding Festival. So that's if you want to see different birds from the valley, that's the place to go. And I'm just glancing around here, not seeing much of anything perched up right now, except mourning doves and occasionally that ash-throated flycatcher. We still have a Cactus Wren singing right behind us somewhere. We have a Eurasian collared dove up there on the wire. That's going to be right into the sun. That's not going to be a good shot at all. Let me grab the scope. We'll go this way. We'll go down here and see if we can find a canyon towhee. A little bit of dead time there while you enjoy the chorus of Cactus Wren. Out there on the top of that bush is the same ash-throated flycatcher, but he's out there about 100 yards right now. Here's the Cactus Wren. Isaac will put yet another Cactus Wren in the camera for you. Oh, now there's an ash-throated flycatcher that actually has nesting material in his beak. He's in that tree just beyond. There he goes, of course. So the ash-throated flycatchers do nest here. We know that, of course. But he was actually carrying nesting material.
He's over here now.
That's fine. Two house finches that we won't bother to look at. I often describe birding as minutes and minutes of tedious boredom followed by 30 seconds of total chaos. That's the phrase I use, and that seems to be normally happening. You're not seeing a bird, you're not seeing a bird, then all of a sudden you get 3 birds at the same time, and you have to look at those 3 birds, and you decide which one to look at. Don't look at this one, that's the common one, look at these over here. It can be crazy for 30 seconds trying to get a bird in the scope, and then you'll walk for a little while seeing absolutely nothing. And we're hearing house finches, but right behind the house finch is the curve-billed thrasher. He might be close. He might be close enough to actually see the yellow eye. Nice profile look there at a curve-billed thrasher. Sitting on a cactus. I should say standing on a cactus, because I don't really sit. And we got house finches to our right, house finches to our left, and a cactus wren calling behind us. And Isaac's trying to get this curve-billed in as nicely as he can. He gives me a thumbs up saying that he's got the bird very nicely. Mourning dove, mourning dove, mourning dove. See, this guy would be trivial to get into a telescope for everyone to see. I could literally put his entire head into the scope so that people would be looking at a full view of his head, see the curvature of the beak, see the yellow eye. You can even see the spots on the chest, which are very drab, but you look at that compared to a Bendire's thrasher, which is not here. Let's see, what category of birds did I not talk about here? We have two species of titmice here in the Verde Valley. Juniper Titmouse, which I almost never see here, and bridled titmouse, which is a bird that's always close to the Verde River or Oak Creek. But both of those birds are common in the Verde Valley that you would see. Now, woodpeckers. We had a ladderback woodpecker here earlier, which is the most common woodpecker that we see on this road. Gila woodpecker is near is easy at Page Springs, easy most places along Oak Creek. Northern flickers winter here in the Verde Valley and nest up there on the Mingus Mountains. And acorn woodpeckers nest up on the Mingus Mountains. Hairy woodpeckers are on both places, but are the most uncommon of the woodpeckers here. I'll just keep talking about birds while this cactus wren sings his little heart out.
We got a request to put a scope on this fella. You think it's worth it at all? Get a look at his eye and his beak?
I don't know.
We'll give it a shot there.
Let's back up a hair and not disturb him, because the scope is going to be... Oh. He is so close. There. If you can get him in there, they will see yellow eye and curved beak and everything. We are about, I would estimate, literally 20 feet from this bird. And there's the cactus wren sitting up there going crazy. That's what they do.
Almost got it, guys. Just a second.
Oh, now that might have been a canyon towhee singing. Yep, that's a canyon towhee back there going that trill sort of sound. If he would come up, that would be nice. Oh, now we got a truck coming by. It's always an exciting part of the bird watching when you have a bird in the scope and a truck drives by. And curve-billed thrasher did not care about the truck, but now he does. So I guess maybe he cared a little bit about the truck. Let me see if I can find... Well, let's try it with the cactus wren. Let's put the cactus wren in the scope. There we go. He's just going to sit there. Unfortunately, the canyon towhee was not sitting up anywhere, and these are just mourning doves over here. So right now we have mourning doves, collared dove, house finches, cactus wren, and curve-billed thrasher. Those are the only birds that I'm seeing And the Cactus Wren is the only bird that we are hearing right now. So I have shut up for the moment and let you listen to the Cactus Wren. Are you getting it, Isaac? Isaac says he's got it in there. Now you have to understand that Isaac is holding this camera, this cell phone. It's not on a tripod on the ground or anything. He's just holding it in his hand, holding it up to the eyepiece of a telescope. So if you're seeing a Cactus Wren, it's all due to Isaac. And that was a house finch that just flew in above him. And the Cactus Wren looks at the house finch and says, "Hi, I don't care."
People saw the yellow eye on the other one too.
So Isaac got the yellow eye of a thrasher in his cell phone. That's a pretty good shot there. I was hoping to get an Oriole down here, but and if you want to, here's the Oriole Feeder right here on the house. The guy's got 2 hummingbird feeders, and in between is a little like house feeder with 3.
Sit up that? On the light? Or where are you pointing here?
No, at the porch.
On the porch.
At the porch. There's 2 hummingbird feeders, and in between is a little box-looking thing.
Can't do that.
Oh, can't do that?
Can't show their houses.
Can't show the house. Okay. That's all right. Anyway, it is a little birding, it looks like a little house with 3 cups of jelly in it, and that's brings Orioles, both hooded and Bullock's Orioles, to the house. And here is just another collared dove over there. And mourning doves. Flying over is house finches. Let's see, how can I end? The best time to come to the Verde Valley is, in my opinion, probably the first week of May, because then you can do the Mingus Mountain and get all the birds here and all the birds there. But really, any time between the 10th of April and the 10th of May is a wonderful time. We have a very good winter birds here, a lot of ducks. A lot of birds come from the north and winter here, juncos and siskin and goldfinches. The summer is I was telling you earlier about migration. Migration starts early in February with the black hawk and turkey vulture, and then it goes all the way through here. And then when you get into May, you have late birds that come, like the flycatchers. And when you get to the 1st of June, common nighthawks, purple martins, and yellow-billed cuckoos are probably the last birds to arrive. So you cannot come here for migration unless you really plan to come here for like 5 months. Migration is a long, spread-out period where you have different birds arriving at different times. And everybody talks about FOS, first of season. Got our first of season black-headed grosbeak. We have a bunch of those at our feeder right now. First of season, this, that, and the other thing. But nobody ever really talks about the last of season. Nobody really studies that much of when the birds actually leave. We just know when they come. So the Verde Valley Birding Festival is a great time of the year here. It's a great time for birding. We have a lot of field trips. We have a lot of workshops. The workshops are 2 different types. You can have a workshop that's actually just a speech, which is what I do, or it's a workshop that actually has some hands-on stuff, or it's a workshop like that Homer Hansen does, where he actually teaches you how to identify sparrows, or how to identify hawks, or how to identify flycatchers. So that could be very educational, or very entertaining, or very hands-on, 3 different types of workshops. And so you've gotten to see a few of the different habitats. Unfortunately, because the internet doesn't work at Page Springs or at the Sonora Wetlands, you're missing probably the 2 best places in the Verde Valley to bird. But this is an unusual spot here on Chuckwalla Road. Chuckwalla is the name of a lizard. There are no Chuckwalla lizards here in the Verde Valley at all. You have to go down to Phoenix to see them. So how it got the name Chuckwalla, I have no idea. It's kind of a neat name, kind of a neat street, And as I said, it's the best place in the Verde Valley for curve-billed thrasher, Cactus Wren, canyon towhee, white-winged dove, usually a pretty good place for cardinals, mockingbirds, and scrub jays. We have not seen a cardinal this morning, which is quite unusual for here, although I do see them more at the other end of the street. So come to the Verde Valley Birding Festival next year. Enjoy the Verde Valley, enjoy the festival. And that's a house sparrow that just flew in. Not a good bird to end on. That's it?
Are we ready to finish?
Yes.
All right, say goodbye.
Goodbye from Chuckwalla Road, from Rich Armstrong and the Verde Valley Birding Festival.